Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today we're taking a look at another CCQ that took place over in the States. This was a 25k at that, hosted by Charlie's Collectible Show, renowned for offering incredible support to the Lorcana community for a long time now. And yeah, they had their CCQ, the winner qualifying for the North American Championships. And as I said, 25k total worth of prizing up for grabs over the weekend, so definitely an event that we want to take a look at. And it was taken down by Zan Zayed, a name that will be no stranger to a lot of you, I'm sure, with Amethyst Whale OTK. We're gonna get all into it. Before we do though, it has been a while since I did a little bit of spring cleaning, spruced up in here. You know that if you've been watching the channel for a long while, you know the lair didn't always look like this. We had our original lair, and then I thought after a year, oh, it's time for a change. Let's mix things up a little bit. And I feel like that time has once again come with Whispers in the Well, etc. So please welcome and allow me to welcome you to the brand new lair. I am super happy with it. A huge shout out to Holly, who has been the artist for all of the lairs that we've used on the channel and a couple of other bits and bobs of art for me over the course of the channel. So a huge shout out to Holly. She will be linked down below. She streams on Twitch. I know Dead by Daylight is a bit of a specialty of hers. But yeah, she's incredibly talented. Very grateful for this new lair. Let me know what you think in the comments. But yeah, a big weekend for Lorcana. Along with CCS, there was a CCQ in Bologna, hosted by Law League, which we will cover in another video, probably tomorrow. But we're going to start off with Charlie's. 333 players, by the way, so should be juicy. A shout out to the channel sponsor, Matified. If you're looking for custom or foil playmats, including those with my own Villain Club branding, then check out Matified. But let's take a look at the top 16 deck lists. So, starting us off in first place, as I already spoiled, we have Zan Zayed qualifying for the National Championships. And if you watch Zan's content, the Club Lorcana podcast with Zan and Jeremy and friends, well, and hosts now, lots of hosts. But yeah, great content. And Zan was saying recently that there's almost an expectation or an assumption that certain names are going to qualify for nationals, are going to qualify for worlds. You think of people like Zach Bivens and Zan Zayed, absolutely another one of those names where you would expect them to be there, DKP as well. But that's not necessarily always the case. So I know Zan's going to be thrilled to secure his invitation to the North American Championship, and did it in style with Amber Amethyst OTK. I think on stream I'm going to be calling it an OTQ, One Turn Quest, just to let you know. I'm probably going to try and ship that. But yeah, so this is not a new combo to the Lorcana community. It revolves around a couple of cards. I'm going to start off by looking at Alana Dale. One copy. He's a 4-cost 2/3, quest for 2. And whenever you play a song, gain 1 lore. So imagine a world where you could sing like multiple songs, endless songs almost in a turn, and just go from 0 to 20 in one turn. What a thing that would be. And then we've got another card called We Know the Way from Amethyst. This is a 3-cost inkable song. Shuffle chosen card from your discard into your deck. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it has the same name as the chosen card, you may play the revealed card for free. Otherwise, put it into your hand. So you play this during any other stage of the game on curve, then you've got a 40-50 plus card deck that it's completely random. There's no assurance that you're going to get that card that you want. But imagine a world where your deck is empty. You have no cards left in your deck, and you're able to play We Know the Way. And let's also assume that we have a We Know the Way in the discard pile. So we take that We Know the Way that we've targeted with this one, we shuffle it into the deck, but there was nothing in the deck, so you can't really shuffle, so it's going to be the only card in the deck. You reveal it, and then you get to play that We Know the Way for free, and then you can repeat the cycle with this copy of We Know the Way and just cycle these songs. And that's where Alana Dale comes in. He needs to be on the board for you to then just go from 0 to 20. So that's the combo in its essence, but of course you need to deck yourself out to do that. So we've got a couple of cards that can help us. We've got Monstro, Infamous Whale, who, as we know, you can choose and discard a card to ready this character, but he can't quest for the rest of the turn, which means he can combo with a couple of cards. The original was Donald Duck, Coin Collector, who has an ability called Money Everywhere. When you play this character, your other characters gain Exert to draw a card this turn. So if you've already got the Monstro on the board, and your Monstro does need to be dry, it needs to survive a full turn, and then you're able to play Donald Duck, then Monstro gains Exert, draw a card. So you get to use that ability, Exert, draw a card, and then you can use Monstro's Full Breach to discard a card, and it can be that card that you just drew. You're never going to run out of cards because you start off by drawing, and then you discard that card or whatever to re-ready him, and you just keep making your way through the deck. And you get to this point where you're already able to have established an Alana Dale, or you include him in your We Know the Way loop, where if you're able to get Alana Dale into the discard, then you can use We Know the Way on Alana Dale if there's nothing else in your deck, and play that Alana Dale. But then you do need another copy of We Know the Way to be able to still get your combo off. But as long as this Alana Dale isn't inked, then there will be a path to get to him for sure. And the other card serving a similar purpose to Donald Duck to create this draw loop is the newer Great Illuminary, 2-cost inkable location, 1 to move there, 3 willpower, 1 passive law, and characters gain Exert to draw a card while here. So without Donald, you can play down the Great Illuminary, you can move Monstro to it, and then you can just begin your combo. And while there is plenty of interruption for this combo in format, it's not actually as hard to get off as you might think, as long as you can get to a point where you can have Monstro come down and survive a turn, and then you're either able to play Donald or Greater Luminary. You immediately start the combo and you can just completely deck yourself out, draw exactly what you need, discard what you need courtesy of Monstro. So it's actually fairly achievable. It's a bit grindy to get there, and you need to make sure that you don't just lose the game before you get to turn 8, play Monstro, and then turn 9 do your combo, because there's no ramp here unless our opponent plays a Sapphire card to ramp us. So the pre-game basically becomes keeping your opponent off of game and controlling the board. So to do that, we've got a number of cards. We've got Demona here, which is predominantly going to be a way to draw cards, but there will be times where you will need to make some challenges to clear up the board state before your opponent wins. So I like the high count. Hades, obviously we're looking to draw as many cards as we can to find these combo pieces and to make sure we've got pieces to keep our opponent off it. Plus Hades can, if they don't let you draw cards, also act as removal. He's normally going to draw cards, but still definitely a piece that you want in this deck. We're running Elsa's. Again, we still need to be able to combat the board and tidy things up because we need to slow our opponent down at all costs. And it's not important to quest at all when you're playing this deck, because as soon as you get to the combo, it doesn't matter if you're at 19 or 0, like you're going to win the game if you can get the Monstro to survive and get your combo off. So you never really care about questing throughout the rest of the game, and you probably never would. Unless it is maybe completely unpunishable and there's a world where your opponent bricks and you say, oh, I can literally win by just questing genies before I get my combo off. But generally speaking, you don't need to quest, but do need to tidy the board. So Elsa's going to help with that. Madam Mim Elephant as a big body that's going to soak up damage and like a good against aggro, against dogs, things like that. We're still playing genies. The quest for 2 isn't as relevant, but it's drawing us a card, and then the evasive, meaning that he can combo with the Greater Luminary and just sit there and help draw you cards to get to your combo pieces or find you pieces that you need to control the board. So still definitely worth playing the genie. I've already explained the Alana Dale. Cheshire Cat, purple players, even if you're not, everyone knows Cheshire Cat's like insane. It really is the way it makes your opponent play the game, the value you can get off of it. So I can see this being a very important piece and just keeping that board tidy and like slowing your opponent down from turning sideways. A couple of copies of Iago Stomping Mad, who we've looked at recently. He's Challenger 5 on a 0-2 quest for 2. Dealing with big bodies is fantastic, like checking the Cheshire Cat. Maybe they're aggressive and they're running Daisy Ducks, or maybe they've just got a big beat stick with 5 willpower. An Amari, a Goliath, something like that. So these stats can absolutely come up. We do have Huey. I said there's no way of ramping, but Huey, obviously when you quest, you pay 1 ink less for the next character you play this turn. So this can get your Monstro onto the board a turn sooner, or just in general play characters sooner just to help you control the board, draw cards, etc. And then a couple of beat sticks in the 1-drop slot, 4 copies of Rafiki, obviously hitting for 3, and the Royal Guard, who will always hit for at least 2. He'll get Challenger 1 when you draw a card for turn. But if you're able to draw cards off of Genie, draw 2 for Hades, draw 3 from Demona. We've got Junior Woodchuck Guidebook in here as well. So like this Royal Guard is going to be hitting for 4 a lot. And maybe even before you get your combo off, you do just like a lot of drawing cards courtesy of the Great Illuminary and Monstro just to like help you tidy up the board, and then suddenly Royal Guard is hitting for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It can get very out of hand. That being said, if you've got the combo off, you probably don't need to challenge, like you're going to win that turn, but still the likelihood that you'll have a turn where you just draw a lot of cards, you play a genie, you pop your guidebook that you'd played the turn before, so you only need to pay 1 ink, a number of things. We're also running 4 copies of the Horseman Strikes, one of my favourite new cards that isn't seeing play. I think this is bit slept on at the moment. Just draw a card and banish a character with evasive, so answer those genies, those Dumbos, those Prince Phillips if they get the combo off, things like that. It's inkable, it's drawing you a card, you love to see it. And 1 copy of the Circle of Life, so we can get back the Whale or the Donald Duck if we put it into the discard earlier on in the game. Maybe you discarded something with a Monstro, or maybe you played a Monstro and then they had an answer to the Monstro that banished it. But yeah, answers to Monstro is how you interrupt this. Like if you've got Hades, if you're a green deck and you're running like Mother Knows Best and things like that, if you can just keep the Monstro off the board for as long as possible, then that's huge. But if they can make it stick just once and they've got the pieces, then this combo is not as hard to get off as you might think. I still would say that I think a player as experienced as Zanzayed is going to get a lot more out of a deck like this than someone like I would get out of a deck like this, let's put it that way. But it will be really interesting to see like if a lot of players now pick this up between now and Richmond. I saw a tweet by DKP where he made a comment along the lines of, like, in other card games, if something like this happened, then there would probably be a ban of some description or something to, like, break this combo. That being said, this could have... I don't think it's a fluke. I think Zan's a great player and put a lot of time and effort into this, but is everyone going to get the same results? If Zan had maybe been a little unluckier, would he have still got this achievement? Again, that's nothing against Zan. I think he's one of the best players in the world, but I just don't think we should take this one result as a, right, let's ban, we know the way, or whatever. Like, I don't think it's that serious yet, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on, right? If, like, the next big event, you've got suddenly 2 or 3 of these in Top Cut. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on this deck down below. Definitely interesting to talk about, and going all the way says a lot. And again, a big player pool. Like, Zanzayed's great, but there were a lot of very good players in the room this day. So yeah, I'd be really interested to hear the opinions of the community down below. Is this a problem? Is this something that you think, would you already be on a ban hammer? Are you like, let's keep an eye on it and maybe down the line we might need to address something? Or do you just think, no, we never need to address anything. This is never going to be consistent enough. Let me know your thoughts down below, but a humongous congratulations to Zanzayed. Of course, we want to see him at Nationals. Super well-respected player, so good that he's got that invitation locked up. So congratulations to him. Going into second place, the first of a few Amethyst Steel decks. This was the majority of the meta in the room. No surprises there, just super consistent. Some incredibly powerful plays, courtesy of Strength, and we're even running a couple of Thunderbolt here, and then obviously the evasive package is fantastic. Dumbos, Genies, Elsas, Iagos. Jonathan Williams, no stranger to success in the Lorcana community, a name that we've talked about a lot. I believe he was top 4 in Milwaukee. I think it was top 4 or top 8, one or the other. But yeah, got to meet him in Milwaukee for the first time. Nice guy. I teased him a bit about Maui Sharks, and he took it well with a smile, so he immediately got some of my respect there. But no doubt whatsoever, a fantastic player going all the way to second place. We're seeing a lot of these purple steel decks take on the Frank Carsten mentality of like some 1s, some 2s, some options in this toolbox deck. That again is so consistent, and as long as you go 1, 2, 3 curve, yes, sometimes there's always going to be an optimal curve, but you can afford to like run some of these tech choices for specific matchups. We see 3 Olaf here, who when banished allows you to return a character to your hand. So if your opponent tries the malicious, mean, and scary, then you can bounce something and save it. Getting your dock back to your hand is pretty huge. You've got Palace Guards and Captain Hooks here. I think maybe only 3 Captain Hooks is maybe low. Because I think it's a stat line, like especially on the draw, you want to see the stat line, but it's not the first time I'm seeing it. 1 copy of Madam Mim Tiny Adversary here to help some stats, the 1 Timothy Q Mouse if you want to be slightly aggressive. Obviously this quest for 2 if you have an evasive on board, so if you're curving into like the Tinkerbell or not Lexington, he's alert, not evasive, very important, but the Tinkerbell, or on turn 4 you are more than likely playing an evasive character, so maybe you just wait till then, and the 1/4 body is good. We know Calhoun is a fantastic draw play, a fantastic catch-up card, often getting 2 for 1s and just freezing the board. 2 copies of Mr. Smee to help take down those pesky evasives because he gains evasive during your turn, which can also synergize with making history on our Dumbo. Opting for Mr. Smee over Jafar Royal Vizier, so looking maybe to masquerade as a blue steel deck. That being said, not many of the blue steel decks are like really running that ally package with Scar and stuff. A couple of them are. But most of them are Goliath piles now. But I like the Mr. Smee, Cheshire Cat, an absolute superstar in all the purple decks. We've got our Lore Burst with Cobras and White Roses. Lexington, obviously, to help answer evasives. 3 Hades, and yeah, I mentioned 2 copies of Thunderbolt as an additional song to help just instant answer characters. Overall, no real surprises. A really solid looking list. And again, shout out to Jonathan Williams. Has had a lot of success over his Lorcana career. Already qualified for Nats because of his placement in Milwaukee. So I look forward to seeing more from Jonathan. A huge congratulations to him. In top 4, another name that will be familiar to many. We've got Jonathan Lamb, another very well-respected player. Played a lot of blue steel in the past, but for this event, he was on purple steel. A lot of the same sort of cards we just talked about. Notably, along with 3 Lexington, we're running 2 copies of Genie Satisfied Dragon, who gains evasive during your turn, so can be an answer to certain evasives. Answers the Dumbo. Obviously, can't one-shot a Genie. But the 3-4 stat line is still good, and because he has evasive during your turn and not alert, then he can synergize it with Dumbo. A couple of copies of Hypnotic Strength here, which I like for the Iagos. Obviously, it can always be a math fixer, but your Thunderbolts and your Strengths, you don't really want to be using them on Iago. I mean, you will, like, it's fine. But I like to be using those on Genies, Dumbos, things like that. So Hypnotic Strengths for the illusions, and also just to be a good math fixer is really nice. 1 copy of Timothy Q Mouse, a wide package of 1-drops. 11 total, which I think is nice for purple steel. Yep, I like the counts. Overall, a really solid looking list and another fantastic player. So a shout out to Jonathan. In top 8, also on Amethyst Steel, we have Frisco, a very tight looking list. 3 copies of He Held His Thunderbolt here, 4 copies of the Cat. We're seeing that one off Timothy Q Mouse, which is becoming more and more staple to these purple steel decks. 4 copies of Lexington, no Satisfied Dragon. We're also playing 2 copies of Demona, Betrayer of the Clan. 4-cost Inkable, 4/6. That's an important stat line, my guys. Quest for 1, Challenger 2, and that Stone by Day ability, as all gargoyles have. I really like this for the mirror, if nothing else. I mean, it's also good against the green decks for Clarabelles, John Silvers, those big beefy bodies. But against purple steel, because it's so important for your 4-drop to not just instantly get like strengthed by your opponent. Again, purple steel is going to be very popular in the majority of rooms, and if they're on the play, then you can really struggle. So I like having this Demona here just as a way to like give you better odds of your 4-drop surviving. Don't get me wrong, they still can get to 6, but it asks a lot more of their hand. So I like the Demona, big beefy, 3 copies of Doc going along with 2 Demona. Looks super solid. Congratulations to Frisco. In top 16, also on Amethyst Steel, we have Joshua. Another tight-looking list. 2 copies of Timothy Q Mouse here. A high count of Iago. This becoming more popular in purple steel decks, because they're just so oppressive to like any purple decks that are running Genies and Dumbos. You get so much value out of Iago if they don't have the answer. And we just looked at one deck running Hypnotic Strength, but majority of them aren't. They're running Strengths and Thunderbolts, which again, still good to have for the Iagos, but if they bait out your Thunderbolt and then play Genie and you don't have an answer to it, don't get me wrong, like, there's a reason this deck is good. We have many answers for many things. You've got Lexingtons, but my point being, if you can create a situation where you have the Iago and they don't have the insta-banish answer to it, it's going to get so much value or just slow down the board completely. So I really like the high count. Only 3 Cobra, maybe a little low. This is one of the cards quite often purple steel can run out of gas, and it'll get to 16, 17, 18, 19, and then it just needs either for something to live a turn or to find some Lore Burst. We're not running any White Roses here, which I think is fine, but Cobra's that one that I think you really want to maximize how often you're seeing it. I don't mind only 3 Dumbo, to be honest. Dumbo's still very good. I've talked about this before. Like, when you get that board state where you've got, like, an Elsa on board and nothing else, and your opponent has, like, a Black Heron or something like that, and then you draw the Dumbo, like, it's you normally just win there and then from the value he's going to generate, and you want that to be something that's happening consistently in that sort of board state. That being said, like, I've been tempted to go down to the 3 copies myself, so I get that. I think I just like the 4th Cobra, personally. But looks super good. Congratulations to Joshua. And our final Amethyst Steel deck list in top 16, taking a big chunk of this top cut today. We've got Franklin, another very solid looking list. We are running the 2 copies of Hypnotic Strength, so more answers to Iagos and Math Fixers. 3 copies of Timothy Q Mouse. My man is a flight instructor enthusiast. Give this man your foil Timothy Q Mouses. I demand it. 3 copies of Tinkerbell, again on the play. This is going to be so oppressive against a lot of decks. Like even Ruby Amethyst, I kind of fear this. On the draw, I feel on the play it's fine. Like, they play Tinkerbell, I play Genie or Dumbo, and even if it was Genie, then the follow-up I've got Elsa, or maybe I played a Lumiere, etc. But I'm not running Vanellope von Schweetz. So if I'm on the draw and they play this Tinkerbell, then it definitely at least quests for 2, and then I establish an evasive, but then they establish a Genie. So now I need to deal with that Genie with my Elsa or my Horseman or whatever it is. So the Tinkerbell gets to sit there and keep questing. So this can be a very impressive card. I like the higher count, 2 Iago, a couple of Bell in here. Only 2 Cat is definitely a little low in my books, but overall, solid looking list. Only 3 Cobra again. What's going on? Did I miss the memo? Are we cutting a Cobra? I don't know if I like that. Nonetheless, a great performance from Franklin. Congratulations to him. Going on to top 4, the first of, I think, 4 Emerald Sapphire decks that made top cut. A great performance from this ink combination. But the one we're starting with is the most unique of these green-blue deck lists. We've got Daniel here with some spice. So the things you would expect to see, the Prince Phillip, Conqueror of Foes, when you play him, banish all opposing damaged characters, and the Malicious, Mean and Scary, which is a 3-cost inkable song, which allows you to put 1 damage counter on each opposing character. Doesn't choose, so gets around ward. Doesn't deal damage, so gets around resist. You're just placing a damage counter. So if you're able to get to a point where you have something that can sing this Malicious, Mean and Scary, and then you either have 9 ink, or you have a baby Prince Phillip here, the Royal Explorer, on board with 6 ink, then you can enable this board wipe. Nothing new, been doing powerful things since the beginning of set 10 meta. 3 copies of You're Welcome to shuffle a character back into the player's deck, and then they draw a card, and when you play this along with Clarabelle, who's our primary draw engine, where you draw at the end of your turn, you draw to match the amount of cards in your opponent's hand. It's so incredibly powerful. You spend your first couple of turns like playing out your hand. We are not playing Tipo. We're going to cycle back to that, but there are still ways to play out your hand, right? We've got Sail, we're double linking. We deplete that hand, we play Clarabelle, we use something to sing You're Welcome, and then we draw a bunch of cards. But this deck may be not benefiting from that line as sufficiently as other decks, because, yeah, as I mentioned, we're not playing Tipo. We're also not playing a 1-drop, a Clarabelle, which, again, it's fine. Like, we will just play this on a 7-ink turn whenever that is, because we do be ramping. The lack of Tipo has kind of blown my mind a little bit, I'm not going to lie. We got 4 sales in here. We're running 3 copies of 1 Jump Ahead, so we have 7 ramp cards. But opting to not play the Tipo, man, like that's crazy. That's a thing right there. That is. I have no idea what to say to that. Because again, that's one of the great things about Green Blue with Clarabelle is you empty out your hand so quickly, you ramp, and then you draw a bunch of cards with Clarabelle, especially if you're running the 1-drop or even the 3-drop Clarabelle, and you can shift Clarabelle, have her sing You're Welcome, your opponent draws 2 more cards, and you remove a threat from the board, and then you draw a bunch of cards, and then you've got all these cards, all these resources, you've inked high, good probability to find your combo. We're running 2 copies of Bend to My Will, so even though we've just made our opponent draw a bunch of cards, we're often going to take them away as soon as possible. But yeah, the lack of Tipo is mind-blowing, but there is a slightly different direction that this deck wants to take in general, because we are playing 3 copies of Alice, Savvy, Sailor. 3-cost uninkable 1/4, quest for 2, ward, and when she quests, another chosen character of yours gets +1 lore and gains ward until the start of your next turn. So giving ward to Prince Phillip, Clarabelle, or John Silver is huge. Because you play Prince Phillip, you get combo off, and then a lot of time they just go Hades, what the Sapphire decks do anyway. And you're like, cool. But if you were able to establish this Alice earlier on in the game, and then you play your Prince Phillip, and then you just quest and you ward him up, what are they doing? Literally nothing. Literally nothing. No, they can still do their own Malicious, Mean and Scary combo themselves. So they can still Prince Phillip combo you back, but like you take away so many of the answers to Prince Phillip. Maybe not so many, because there aren't actually that many, but the most common one is obviously Hades, and some Emerald decks are running Mother Knows Best, things like that. So you just shut that down, and the same is true for your Clarabelle, your John Silver. We're also running 3 copies of Goofy, Expert Shipwright, 5-cost inkable, 1/4, quest for 3, ward, and when he quests, chosen character gains ward into the start of your next turn. So doing the same as Alice, except he doesn't give a lore pip, but he is questing for 3. So yeah, lots of ways to give ward to our important characters like Silver, Clarabelle, and Prince Phillip. The baby Prince Phillip already has it. The baby Alice already has it, as is the Goofy. I don't think you're ever really going to need to use it on your your Cinderella. Maybe you will on your Louis, so they can't just strength it and they have to challenge him with their reckless character. Yeah, I really love the ward stuff. I think it's great. I'm just so, like, caught off guard by the lack of T-Po.
That's crazy. Anyway, I should probably finish this duel. But that's crazy.
We're also running 4 copies of Heffalumps and Woozles. You draw a card and an opposing character can't quest next turn. And 2 copies of Night Howler Rage. 3-cost inkable action. Draw a card and chosen character gains Reckless during their next turn, which is something that John Silver can do as well. Love the Alice. Love the Goofy. Love what you've got going on here. But yeah, the lack of T-Po is mind-blowing. And I'm not sure... Like, I'm not really seeing the... Night Howler Rage. I guess it pops Iagos. It's an action that pops an Iago. Is definitely something that this can do. I wonder if there's another more specific use case for it. But yeah, the lack of T-Po has blown my mind here. But this list took Daniel all the way to 4th place, so you gotta respect it. A huge congratulations to him. Our next Emerald Sapphire deck in top 8, we've got Brandon Braxley. A pretty stock-looking list with the exception, only one Hades seems wild to me. I think I've said this on the channel before a couple of times, probably. I don't know, man. Like, it's just like one of the best cards in the game. I get that we've got the Prince Phillip combo. We've got Silver. We've got Basil to bounce characters. Like, we have other ways of interacting and removing pieces, but bad gold, like Hades is like one of the best. So the low count, again, just really throws me off, but everything else looking pretty stock. High count of Mother Knows Best as well. Keep those characters off the board. Synergizes with Clarabelle's Keep in Step ability. A high count of Donald Duck Perfect Gentleman to draw more cards, find those combo pieces. The shift line is here for Clarabelle. Yeah, super solid. Just a low count of Hades in my opinion, but looks good. Congratulations to Brandon. Next up in top 16, we have Tantrum Tyler. This ain't a Lorcana player. This is a WWE superstar. What is this incredible name? My name is Tantrum Tyler. Bago, we gotta get on a billboard. We gotta push you, Tantrum. Like, we're gonna make $1 million with this name. Love it. Shout out to you, my friend. List looking mostly stock. We do have a couple of copies of Improvise here. +1 strength to a character and draw a card. Again, like just digging. A bit of a math fixer if we are making challenges, but also targeting those pesky Iagos and illusions in general. The only other really notable ones being Giant Cobra and Palace Guard. Mostly for the Iago. High count of Mother Knows Best. High count of Basil and John Silver. No Hades. I missed it for a moment. Tantrum. What's Tantrum? I'm about to have one, mate. I'm about to have a tantrum myself. What's going on? Hades is good. I promise. I promise Hades is a good card. But didn't need it to get top 16. So shout out to you, Tantrum Tyler. And our final Emerald Sapphire deck in top 16, Guillermo, I think is close to the pronunciation. Probably still getting it wrong, but a shout out to you, my friend. Mostly stock yet again. 2 copies of that Prince Phillip. 1 copy of One Jump Ahead, just as that 9th ramp. 4 Hades. My heart, man, my heart. And 2 copies of Under the Sea. As an additional way to wipe an opposing board. We have no way of lowering the strength of opposing characters, but as we know, Genies, Elsas, Donald Ducks, plenty of characters of 2 strength or less to sweep under the deck. Looks super solid. Congratulations to you. Next up in top 8, we've got Jacob Knoll with some Emerald Amethyst. Speci, what have you done? My friend, my original co-caster, my brother. What have you done? Gotta respect it, chat. You've gotta respect it. Yeah, so this is a deck, I'm gonna say inspired by Speci. I don't know if that's actually true. I don't know how many people out in the wide world were testing things like this. But the first time I saw anything like this was Speci running it in LC3. Or Curly Card, sorry, as I should say now. So, yeah. All gas. No brakes. Yeah, I mean. We have 4 copies of Enigmatic Inkcaster, where if you've played 2 or more cards this turn, gain 1 lore. It's a 2-cost uninkable. And it does count for itself, so if you play the Inkcaster, then that's one of the 2 cards that you need to play to be able to exert it to gain a lore. Running Honey Marin, that gains you lore when you play him if your opponent has an exerted character. We're running 4 copies of Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom for that lore burst, 4 copies of the White Rose. So that's our lore burst, and then we've got just a bunch of very efficient questers. Palace cards that we know in all Amethyst decks can generate a lot of lore over the course of a game. We're running 4 copies of Pegasus, where if your opponent does not have easy art, like evasive characters of their own, this Pegasus is going to quest for so much. The majority of purple decks not running an evasive until the 4 cost. There are some exceptions, some people running the Tinkerbell or the Ruby Peter Pan. And if you're playing Ruby Amethyst with Mother Gothel, then you probably farm this. But the vast majority of the decks not running adequate, like, early evasive answers, in my opinion. So early Pegasus, or like double Pegasus on turn 2, is going to generate so much lore. We've got Little John's in here as a 0/4, again, similar to Palace card, just going to help you generate a lot. 4 copies of Cursed Merfolk, that obviously quest for 2, and can make your opponent discard cards, so run out of resources. Diablos that are going to replace themselves. We're also running 4 copies of Finnick, which I don't think Curly played, but 1 cost Inkable, 1/2 quest for 1, and on play you can pay 2 ink to bounce a character of 2 strength or less to their hand. So keep their Captain Hooks, their Black Herons, their Calhouns off the board, or like slow them down if they are also an aggressive deck like dogs or something. So nice addition. And we're running a 4/4 Webby Vanderquack engine. Again, this is going to help you. You don't want to put many cards into your Inkwell, right? Because you want to be playing the majority of the cards you draw onto the board as soon as possible. So Webby's going to help you ramp. She quests for 2. She's got wards, so she's tricky to remove. So nice inclusion. 4 copies of Scrooge McDuck. A lot of the dogs decks taking advantage of this card in its ability to just help you dig through the deck. He can be removed, obviously, by like Hades or Strength for a Raging Fire, whatever, but cannot be answered by challenges. So, and he quests for 2. So when you do quest with Scrooge, your opponent is going to want to challenge into it, and then it just comes back to your hand, and you can just keep reapplying pressure to the board. So finding half and home in this deck. And then for draw, because as you can imagine, there's not a lot of draw going on here. You're going to run out of gas sooner rather than later. We're running 4 copies of Amethyst Chromacon, very popular. You see them in Brainiac all the time. And 4 copies of Show Me More. Each player draws 3 cards. So yeah, you're gassing your opponent up, same as Chromacon does. But like where Brainiac says, I don't care that I'm gassing you up, I'm just going to bend. I'm going to benefit from Clarabelle. I'm going to play bend to my will anyway to take all those cards away from you. This deck is saying, yeah, I'm gassing you up, but I'm going to win the game before you are at a high enough ink threshold to really utilize a lot of your more efficient removal. Like, this just should farm the Sapphire decks, right? There's an argument that the Sapphire Steel decks maybe have a slightly better matchup if they're playing hooks and strengths and jasmines and things like that, but it's still going to take them a couple of turns to get there, and there are such aggressive openings for this deck. And then if you just get to like 14, 15, 16 lore, you can rely on roses and gathering knowledge and wisdom. And again, if you're playing at least 2 cards per turn, then you're triggering your ink casters. And if you've got multiple ink casters, like, I've seen this deck pop off, I've seen this work. And this event has shown that it is something to be respected, because this ain't the only one that we're going to look at today. But yeah, looks good. What have you done, Speci? Congratulations to Jacob. So also on Emerald Amethyst in top 16, we have Ryan. Now this deck is not the same as the one we just looked at. You can immediately see we're playing things like You're Welcome and Under the Sea. There's a couple of Hades in here. There's that Clarabelle engine. And we're running that Prince Phillip combo with Malicious, Mean and Scary. We've got the Bend to My Will to synergize with our Chromacons and our Show Me More. There's 2 copies of to slow the opponent down even more. And then we're seeing some spice. We've got 3 copies of Maleficent Vexed Partygoer. Whenever she quests for 2, you can discard a card to return a character, item, or location with cost 3 or less to their player's hand. So again, we don't mind discarding cards because we're hopefully going to gas back up with Clarabelle, plus the Chromacons and the Show Me Mores. We should have plenty of gas to be able to utilize this on the regular. Bouncing a 3 cost or less is super, super good. And you can bounce a Chromacon back. That's disgusting. And another card that I super like is Nana. 3 cost inkable, 3/3, quest for 1. On play, you can discard a card to return a chosen character of cost 2 or less to their player's hand. So very similar to the red-purple Madame Medusa, which fans of the channel will know I've been a big fan of for a long time. I don't think there's a place for her at the moment necessarily. But it's definitely a good card if you can bounce back Calhoun's, Black Herons, like good against Purple Steel just to offset their curve. And against Red Purple, like bouncing back the Diablo, the Clarabelle to pot off their shift line. There's a lot of really annoying things you can do with Medusa, and Nana does the same thing, except instead of putting damage on one of your characters like Medusa does, you discard a card, which, as we just discussed with Maleficent, we shouldn't have a problem doing that. So yeah, a very different deck to the Speci special that we just looked at, but borrowing a couple of the ideas just to maximize. Again, we are a combo deck, so we don't care if our opponent's drawing cards. We're going to sweep the board, we're going to make them discard their hand. But yeah, the Maleficent and Nana are definitely two inclusions that you don't see a lot. So really spicy, I love to see it. Congratulations to Ryan. In top 8, we've got Brian with the first of our Emerald Amber Dogs decks. Dogs have been doing very well so far this format. There is only one Blurple list that made it to top 16, which we'll be finishing on today, but I understand there was still a lot of it in the room, and Blurple's going to be a really good matchup for Dogs. And to be honest, the majority of the Sapphire decks, like Dogs just is going to look to just race them. So I think there's a lot of reason to play Dogs at the moment. Spoilers for CCQ Law League that we'll be looking at hopefully tomorrow. Spoilers for that. That was won by Dogs, taking down DKP on Blurple in the finals. Although fair play to DKP, he beat a couple of Dogs decks on his way to get there, but couldn't take it down. And yeah, Dogs stood victorious. So looking to have a lot of good matchups in the meta. We've got a couple of copies of Della's Moon Lullaby in here to lower the strength of characters, to help get more characters into Under the Sea range, of which we're running 3 copies. Only 1 copy of Scrooge McDuck Shush Agent in here, which does seem a little low to me. I think this is like one of the best new additions for the deck. We're seeing that one-off Raja, who's becoming more and more popular for Dogs, just a very cheap, annoying bodyguard. Everything else pretty much what we'd expect to see from Dogs, so a huge congratulations to Brian. In top 16, also on Dogs, we've got William Cole. This deck looks, I think, identical to the one we just looked at. Oh, there's one more Della's Moon Lullaby, one more Raja in here. Only 3 Ursula and 2 Lady. Okay, so there are some differences, but basically the same cards. You've just shifted the counts around a bit. Oh, and we've made room for the Floodborn Webby Vanderquack, who of course you don't need to run. Just the 1 drop is enough for this deck to give +1 strength to the lady. And then Pack of Her Own gives her another 1 strength. So then on turn 2, you only need to play 1 other character, and she's suddenly questing for 3. But nice to have the option in here of being able to shift as well. Everything else, a pretty cookie cutter. Looks good. Congratulations to William. And our final Dogs deck of the day, we have Diego Saz. No stranger to Amber Emerald. Dogs has been having a lot of success with it for a long time. I would go as far as to say one of the best Dogs players in the world. I'd also give shout outs to people like Ghosty and Lizard Kitty and plenty more. Again, I shouldn't make that mistake of starting to name people, because I always leave someone out and I upset them, and I don't mean to. But my point being, Diego's Dogs goated. And no difference here, making a top 16, 3 copies of Della's Moon Lullaby, 2 Under the Sea, 3 Chromacon, 2 copies of Raja, those 2 Webby Vanderquack. This looking very similar to the list we just looked at, to be honest. Only 3 copies of Mowgli, but Diego knows what he's talking about when it comes to Dogs. If I was going to run Dogs, I would probably just copy paste whatever Diego or someone like Lizard Kitty were playing. Kurt Spice, another very well-respected Dogs player, but I haven't seen him for a while. I wonder what he's doing. I missed you, Kurt. Nonetheless, fantastic-looking list. No surprise to see Diego performing well. Congratulations to him. And our final deck list of the day, our one and only Blurple. We've got Brandon. We've talked about Blurple a lot recently, so I'll just mention some specific counts and player preference choices. We're running 4 copies of Junior Woodchuck Guidebook. No Tamato is in here, but just a bit more gas for your draw. We've got the 1 jump ahead for that 9th ramp. 2 copies of Hypnotic Strength and 2 copies of Magical Maneuvers. I like this, really respecting the Iago, because we do be running a lot of very powerful evasive characters, so if we can pop Iagos, that's great. And of course, Hypnotic Strength can just be a math fixer, and Magical Maneuvers returning characters to your hand is very good when you're running things like Hades. Only 2 Demona, which I think is fine for Blood. I think Blurple is like one of the... Well, Amethyst Steel can run a lower count of Demona, to be fair. I don't know, man. I think Demona's super broken, but 2 makes sense in Blurple. 2 copies of Belle, again, returning that to your hand with Magical Maneuvers is pretty good. We've got the 3 Rafiki, the 3 Basil, 2 copies of Madame Elephant, 1 Monstro, 2 copies of Ursula, Whisper of Vanessa, who is growing in popularity in both the Blurple and the Ruby Amethyst decks, to be honest, just because every reason that Iago is good, like that 4-6 body line is huge. 4-5 is also very huge. But Ursula cannot be banished just by being targeted by an action. Yes, it costs a little more to get her online, but she also quests for 2. There are pros and cons, but overall I think Ursula is a really solid card that can become just a must answer. So overall, really solid looking list. 61 cards, but there you go. Congratulations to Brandon. And that is it. So a huge congratulations to all these players, and particularly to Zan Zayed, qualifying for the North American Championships, but also doing it with a very spicy deck, which genuinely I'd be very keen to hear people's thoughts on that deck down below. And yes, alright, I'll say it. No Ruby Amethyst. It's fine. Don't read into it. It's fine. We're good. We're good. Go away. We're going to leave it there. That's it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana. Hit that like button to show your support. Ruby Amethyst is good. And we'll see you soon.